What episode are we on?
We're at
10? 9? 10?
No, this will be 10.
10.
Yeah. Hard to keep it all together.
It's like a big number, 10.
10.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, you're good to go whenever.
All right. Hey, everybody. Wide Open, episode 10. It's like our anniversary. No, it's just 10. It's just a number. So Wide Open with Chris Burandt. I got my partner in crime, as always, Ross Robinson. And we are here broadcasting live. Actually, it's not live either.
Someday it will be live.
Someday it will be live. But we're here at Heydays 2019 in Minnesota. It's such a cool event to basically start another season. And we have a really special guest. If you guys caught our podcast, our previous one, number 9, we had a bunch of guys here at Heydays with us. We had Dan Adams, we had Keith Curtis, we had Andy Thomas, the Climb Back members of the Climb Backcountry team, and to kind of continue that theme, we've got John Summers from Climb. What's up, John?
Awesome. Just out here enjoying the kickoff to the snowmobile season.
Yeah, it's so how many times have you come out to this event?
That's an interesting question. This is my second Heydays. So last year was the first one. So I've been in the industry 20 years, and somehow I've missed this party for almost 18 years. So I'm going to make up for that, though.
So I think that's an interesting dynamic. I mean, so being in the industry 20 years, and then obviously Heydays being a big point of that. What was it like seeing this place and what this is for the first time?
It's absolutely crazy. I mean, to come here and see the excitement and all the people and just getting into, what gear they're going to need for the season and what parts and pieces. It's just amazing. And I've always, when I come to whether it's Heydays or any other show, it's always awesome to see all the excitement and how passionate people are for the sport of snowmobiling. So.
That passion is something that is something that's hard to describe.
Oh yeah, and it's not matched. It seems like in any other industry, snowmobilers are so passionate about this. It's awesome.
Well, if you think of what we do, right? Our prime season is 3 months. Snowmobiles are ridiculously expensive, along with all of the gadgets and other things that you need. That's when you know that you are in a very passionate industry when that is the ingredients.
I think it's part passion and part craziness.
I've been called both, that's for sure. So let's do a quick intro.
Okay.
So John, you've obviously worked at Climb pretty much
since the beginning.
From the beginning. And what do you do for Climb now?
So I am the marketing manager for Climb. Been in that position. Well, basically when I first started, I was marketing, sales, product development. It was a ground up, startup company. And so back in the day, we did everything. I would go in and help production. I would go out on the road and sell and do my marketing functions all at the same time. So
well, and I think what's so awesome is where Climb is at in our industry, and but the story of how Climb got to be here is, I've heard it many times now, and it's an astonishing one to me. And so, talk about those beginning times and why is there a Climb? How did Climb come to be?
Well, so we actually started in the outdoor industry, building clothing specific to guys that worked out in outside. Like ski patrol operators and search and rescue people that lived in the outdoors and that needed really high quality gear. And so we were doing that, and we all snowmobiled. And really at that point, the clothing that we needed based on where snowmobiling was going needed to change. And so we're like, hey, we've got this really good gear we're building, and we need to bring this to the snowmobile industry. And so that's really kind of out of necessity. And out of our own selfish desires, we kind of put 2 and 2 together, and that's really where Climb's come from. And I think the really great thing, so we're celebrating our 20 years this year, and I think the really great thing is that what made Climb great back then is still what's making Climb great today. We haven't lost that passion. We still it's crazy when we're in product development meetings. It's just crazy what we really fuss over. I mean, even down to stitches and threads and things like that. And we know that, like you said, we only have so many months to snowmobile, and we want to make sure that our consumers or the people that use our gear are getting the most out of our product and enjoying the sport, And when you look at snowmobiling and where the snowmobiles take us today, there's a safety element as well.
Of course.
And so we got to make sure that when you get in the backcountry and something happens and you get in kind of an emergency situation, what you have with you is what you have to survive. And so we really take that part of it seriously.
When you talk about that, I can specifically remember several things. Obviously, the one story that we all remember, Rulon Gardner,
absolutely,
Olympian, right, and a passionate backcountry person. And was he a snowmobiler or?
Yeah, he was a snowmobiler.
Okay. Yep. But the quick story on Rulon was he was out in the backcountry in Idaho training, and he was thankfully wearing KLIM gear, but he ended up getting in a pretty sticky situation.
Yeah, he got separated from his group and ended up in a creek bottom and couldn't get out, and he ended up wading in water for quite a few hours. Wasn't wearing KLIM boots, and I don't know if he ended up losing toes, but he ended up getting frostbite, and so shortly after that he went researching what he should have been wearing, which he ended up with KLIM boots, and you can put yourself in pretty dangerous situations out there. So
and over the years I've heard several. One of the things that intrigues me is when I hear a search and rescue story of snowmobilers that ended up having to stay overnight or something like that. And I actually this is no joke. A group of my clients that I had over this past season, they were telling me about their experience staying overnight, and I've heard it many times, but they told me the only reason that we survived was because we were dry. And they were wearing the right gear, right?
Well, and that's really important. So from the inside out, wearing the right materials, no cotton, having layering. We've even heard of stories where one person in the group had KLIM gear on, and they had to kind of take turns wearing the KLIM gear so that they would survive the night. So, yeah, we take that very seriously, and obviously, we're out there riding ourselves too, and fortunately, I've never spent the night. I've come very close, but it's reassuring knowing that you're wearing the right gear, and if you get in those situations, you're going to be prepared. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate as well. I haven't had to stay the night. My group I was riding with, they had to stay the night because they couldn't get out. But no, that's a joke.
I was fine.
You would never do that, would you?
But no, I would not.
It's pretty amazing how many guys we actually do talk to who have stayed the night.
Oh, it's pretty crazy.
It's been surprising because we talk about it. I don't know, we've asked that question more often, it seems like. Just talking about backcountry preparedness, and making the right choices and what to bring into the backcountry. And they're like, oh, yeah, I spent the night. I'm like, geez, okay. So you know the drill.
Yeah, we need to work on the skill set of the riding because, and that's, that is most of the time I always ask, well, how did it happen? And it's the same, most of the time it's the same recipe. Well, we started going down and we just kept going down. And yep. And so.
And you always have that one riding buddy that his sled's not running quite right. And
exactly. So I'm gonna rewind a little bit.
Okay.
So 20-year anniversary. That's just incredibly cool to talk about and to be in this awesome industry that we are for 20 years now. I was, when KLIM first came out, I said, well, what is this all about? And it must have been the Flame jersey.
Oh, totally. That won you over, didn't it?
Yeah.
We're going to bring him back just for you.
I hope we do. You and I kind of joked when I came back to the KLIM team of, that picture of me flying on a 2002 Arctic Cat flying over something, jumping back in the day. And it's crazy to see our paths, right? I was a up and coming rider, and just trying to make a name for myself, and you guys were as well. And it was funny, back then I didn't really understand the sponsorship game as well as I do now, but I had approached KLIM and I wanted to be a sponsor, and back then it wasn't what I could do for the sponsor, it was what could the sponsor do for me, So I really had everything kind of backwards back then, but what was pretty unique in that situation is I had several times, and I see this in the hunting world a bunch, is I had bought other stuff because I couldn't afford KLIM, but I ended up having to buy it multiple times. Yeah. So then I just kept telling myself, well, why didn't I just buy the right stuff first?
Cry once.
Cry once. Yeah. And so I had I thought that was that's what brought me to KLIM in the first place. Was I bought the product and really enjoyed it, and I took that story, and what was crazy at the time is you guys were in the beginning, there was no marketing budget, there was no right there was no give some money to this kid.
We had to beg and plead to get people to ride in the gear, and being a new brand on the market, we hadn't built up that trust yet, and so we had to work at it and go out and seed the market and make sure that the thing that we did that I think helped us the most is just we started giving some product away, and once people started riding in it, the light bulb went on and they understood why it cost so much, and it just created a different experience for the snowmobiler, and we see that time and time again. Once we get the person in the product, the light bulb goes on, and they completely understand why it's priced the way it is.
Well, so with that being said, Ross and I just got back from Chile, and Chile has been a very unique experience for us. Not only riding in the middle of summer, but because of the conditions that we ride in there, and it's so funny. I mean, the last 3 years. We've ridden in rain, snow, hail, hot, cold. I mean, you name it, and we have ridden in it down there.
By the way, I'm waiting for the invite so I can experience that firsthand.
That's not a problem. We can work that out.
Just like the backcountry ride too.
That's
that
right.
We had in April.
Pouring rain.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. We left the parking lot pouring rain, and no matter if it was that backcountry ride or down in Chile or whatever, our biggest thing and what KLIM truly believes in is no bad days.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
And so
just bad gear.
And that's just not an option.
No.
And it's all the things we talk about, and when you talk about price, let's circle those wagons, because I mean, the people at Heydays, right? We have lots of different demographics here. We have people, trail riders and intermediate riders and all of this stuff. And so when they look at something and they see a $500 coat, they're like, $500 for a coat? Why? How could this? It's so light and there's not much there. How's it $500?
So, it's just like anything, suspension or anything like that. There's a lot of R&D that goes into it. There's a lot of time and effort in the construction of it, a lot of research. Gore-Tex stands behind the product because they do a lot of research, and there's a lot of history and a lot of construction and a lot of development that goes into building all these little tiny things.
And I guess one thing that you and see, because you're so close to it, Gore-Tex. So you just kind of nonchalantly threw out that word Gore-Tex. KLIM is the only one with Gore-Tex,
yes, absolutely.
and there's a reason for that.
Yeah. So I mean, I wish I could take everyone back to the Gore-Tex facility. You've been back there, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely amazing how much research and development goes into what they do. And a lot of times people say, well, Gore-Tex is, it's been around for a long time and it's the same thing, and it's not.
They keep evolving.
Yeah, they're kind of like us. We feel like we've never arrived, and so we always have to push the envelope. We always want to make sure that, we're looking at new fabrics and new materials, and we're testing this and we're testing that. We're not just sitting back, hey, we arrived and our product's good and we're going to just keep it that way. It's like, no, we always have to be improving. And that's kind of part of our DNA, and the components that we resource that we put in our product, those companies are kind of the same way. It's like we're never satisfied. We always have to make sure that what we're using and what we're doing is the best. And so there's just a lot of money that goes into developing new things and trying to improve on the current offering. So it's really where the price comes in, and the quality of the materials, even down to the threads. So a lot of companies use a very low-end thread. We actually source our thread that they use in hiking boots. It's a lot more durable, but it costs more money at the same time. And so it's just all these little components, YKK zippers, all of these things. It's top-end product that goes into what we use. And we always say, your cake's only as good as the ingredients you put into it. It's the same thing with product. Your product, the finished product, is only going to be as good as the ingredients you put into it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think the biggest thing that happened for me. Hey Ross, the camera turn off.
Oh my gosh.
Oh. I think the biggest thing that I noticed after wearing KLIM gear for the first season was when I thought I was dry wearing my previous gear, I actually wasn't, and so that was something that was very astonishing to me, and what continues to blow me away, and I'll use Chile as an example because we were just down there, is it's coastal down there. It's a little warmer, a little more humidity, a lot more sweat down there. And during the day, I'm working hard. I'm pulling skis. I'm getting stuck, rolling sleds, and
You're not getting stuck. Your clients are getting
that's
stuck.
That's right. Exactly. But I'm sweating, right? And my feet sweat a lot, my hands sweat a lot, and so at that time you're like, man, I am wet, I am uncomfortable, and then I get back and I'm dry, and I'm like, where did it go?
It's magical. we can't tell anyone that part of it. No,
but the prior gear I was wearing, I came back home wet.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And it wasn't necessarily wet from maybe snow that day, but it was wet from perspiration.
We call that stewing in your own juices.
That is lovely.
That's gross.
Just a little bit. Yeah, so, the equation here is breathability and waterproof. So how can something be waterproof and still allow that perspiration to evaporate out? And that's where breathability comes in. You can sweat more than what the Gore-Tex will breathe out, and that's why you have vents and things like that. And that's why it's important to wear
proper layers
because you can build up that moisture and then eventually it'll breathe out. So, or you open up a vent. But yes, that's the magic is, you're going to work hard, you're going to sweat, but you'll get that to breathe out with the Gore-Tex. So
I think one thing that you guys have done incredibly well I look at the history of the product, and one staple piece was the Valdez coat, right?
Absolutely.
And so one thing that you guys, what the big agenda was there, and thinking back to your history, was we need something bulletproof and durable and that will not fail.
Yep.
Right.
And snowmobilers aren't hard on products. That wasn't a reason.
Exactly. Yeah, we're hard on exactly everything. But as the riding has evolved, as what we're doing on the snow has evolved, you guys, I think that's where I've been so impressed with how the technology has advanced too, is because you go get in a Valdez coat now and it's like, wow, this thing is stiff, it's a little heavy, and you pair that now into like what our lock-saw material is, and the ripsaw and the storm and all of that stuff, and so you guys are not just making these bulletproof things that aren't very comfortable, and I think that's key.
Yeah. Well, and we've also been able to, through our research, find fabrics that are just as durable, but they're lighter, so they afford you that mobility and things like that. And that's a lot of times someone will come up to a product and feel and they're like, oh, this is too lightweight. Well, there's been a lot of research that goes into our fabrics to make sure that we can find that fabric that's durable, but yet give you the mobility that you need to ride comfortably. And although I can't do hopovers, to do hopovers and things like that. Someday I'll graduate to the hopover club.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping as soon as we can find a coat that you can sell that creates hopovers, we're gonna be rich.
Oh yeah. Well, that will be the next project.
BBA will be out of business, but we'll be selling a lot of coats.
So we've kind of talked about the technology a little bit throughout the product line. I guess one thing that's really I'm going to throw Ross in on this one. Ross, how old are you? 24?
24.
Okay. So, Ross...
I was 4 years old when KLIM was established. So.
That makes me feel old.
Sorry.
But I think what's fun is, Ross's generation they're the next,
yep.
right? These are the riders that we're hoping to have in the future. And so... to create product for them, not only from a performance standpoint, but a styling standpoint and all of that. KLIM was very notorious for black and yellow, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Build that brand up.
There's a lot of black and yellow, and there's still obviously that demographic that likes that. But that's something that Ross, maybe you could talk to that. What's your go-to piece right now, and what are you feeling?
It kind of it always is evolving because we're fortunate enough to try all of the pieces and put time in and test. And I would say that my go-to right now is the new Storm stuff, and that got a big change just recently, and it has a little bit different fit and feel. When I was young, I was a snowboarder. That's where I got into snow, and then when I was big enough to ride a full-size sled, then I got the bug, and the rest is history on snowmobiling. But that Storm stuff is more, it has a little bit different fit than maybe the Valdez, like you were talking, like that. And for me, I enjoy that, and because my roots were in that, and I still kind of can relate back to that. But every year, the styling, the colors, all of that stuff is evolving and staying up to par with what I like and also what Chris likes.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting, and a lot of people don't realize, obviously the more lines you put in, the more stitching you have to do, the more, you create weaknesses. And so over the years, we've been able to learn how to put more style into it, more lines into it, and keep it to that level of waterproofness and durability that we wanted. So,
and I'm now to the, like a couple of years ago, I was talking about this at Heydays. It looked like a sea of highlighters running through. Like that high vis was like on, and now there's not as much. And like, what's next? And what's the next look? And what's the next style? So it's always fun to see what's happening and what's changing with all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the look kind of is a cycle. You get the high vis and that, and then it kind of goes away, and then it'll come back. And you look at the wraps, it's where people are doing now. Quite a while ago, it was pretty loud and proud, and now it's kind of a little more subdued. And so
I want to come back to one more thing that we briefly touched on, and that's the attention to detail. And I really, so I've had the privilege of going to KLIM a couple times, and not only seeing what you guys do there, but what more impressed me was the team and how everybody truly feels that is the direction, and that the little things do make a difference. Yeah. And if you didn't, then it would just be normal, right? And we are that's what I love. That's why I associate myself with KLIM, is because we want to be the best at no matter what we do. And those little details are really the make or break to, like what we talked about, of having a good day or a bad day. And, with all of that comes, you guys started as an outerwear company. And to see the 127-page catalog or whatever it is now, did you ever think it would get to that?
Not back in the day. We were focused on the moment and just trying to do as good as we could in that moment. And like I said before, we still feel like we haven't arrived. We feel like there's still more we can do.
Which is exciting,
better.
Right?
Absolutely. And I think that's the secret to maybe even any business or brand. Or it's like you can't just sit back and let it happen. You have to feel like it's always what's coming up next. How can we do it better? How can we make this thing even bigger and better? And so, and really focusing on the details. The details, success is in the details, and making sure that everything's covered and we're using the best. And and that's part of our DNA, and that's what I think will continue to make us successful. So
yeah, one thing, another thing that is it is impressive is I'm one that has high expectations, and what's meaningful for me with you guys is you listen. And, you know, I go into the conversation and I'm like, I don't dislike you, and I love our product, but I have some constructive criticism.
Oh, absolutely,
here.
and we love it.
And you love it,
yes,
and
we eat it up.
I love that,
Yeah.
and so you know those first tiptoe conversations, I was like, oh really? Oh, you saw that too, and so then it's just like, oh well, sweet. Now, so and this here's my idea, and you're like, oh yeah, we're already way ahead of you on that, and so
just be
always,
patient,
but.
please.
Come on now.
Yeah.
No. And that's part of our process is listening to our athletes, listening to our customers. I mean, as much as we ride, we don't see everything. And so we depend on, you know, the sledder community to make sure that we're hitting all the marks. And it's super important for us to do that.
I think especially over the last few years, KLIM has done an incredible job at listening to. I mean, look at your team.
Oh yeah,
it's the most stacked team in the industry,
yep,
right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And it's a very diverse group of people with different disciplines.
Oh yeah, iron doggers and snow cross racers and hill climbers and backcountry riders,
snow bikers. I mean,
yeah.
Man, and so again, what a wealth and pool of knowledge that we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because. You know, we're constantly trying to make stuff better for the end user and the consumer.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting too, we have our motorcycle side of the business, you know, adventure riders and tours, guys that travel around the world, and we've been able to kind of use both of those markets to feed off of each other and learn things from one side and apply it to the other side. And so, I mean, that's a huge part of our process to make sure that the product is doing what it's doing, is getting all that feedback and getting all that information. And we've got a great team inside that takes that and catalogs it and makes sure that, you know, we're looking at it and understand it. And then the secret is how to take all that information and apply it and put it into the product. I mean, that's where the magic happens.
Well, when we talk about 20 years, I think this is funny. Your email is John at KLIM.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
There's only one other dude that has a first name at KLIM. He's the big man.
Yeah,
right?
he's the big man. Yep.
And so that's it's awesome to see your dedication to not only the company but the industry, the direction, the passion. But what's more exciting is, I mean, what's the next 20 years like? That's crazy to think of,
I can't
huh?
tell you that right now. No, I think it's more innovation. It's making the sport even better, you know, creating better experiences for people when they go out and ride. You know, there's some crazy technologies out there that, you know, we're trying to figure out how to apply them to the snowmobile market. And that's one thing we like to do, too, is go out and look at other technologies and in other spaces and bring them into the snowmobile market. And, you know, even down to one of the things that we always talk about is how can we enhance the rider's experience, you know, and there's several different ways. One, we build product from the ground up. The other is being able to bring products from a different industry into our market, and with the end goal being to enhance the rider's experience. And so, more experience enhancing for the next 20 years.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess, you know, kind of talking about what we currently have. You know, I look at obviously the outerwear is second to none. We got some really cool new stuff with gloves, Gore-Tex, lightweight Gore-Tex gloves.
That's a great example of us. I mean, the idea of having a glove that doesn't have any extra room in there that's truly waterproof, that's been on our radar for how many years?
Right. How many years has it taken to get that done?
I would say at least, 20 years.
Yeah.
Gore grip, 20 years.
Like, oh my goodness. You know, and that's a great example of how Gore has worked with us.
Yeah.
It's not just a one-way road. We've sat there in many meetings trying to figure out how to make this glove waterproof and still give you that ultimate grip like a motocross glove.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, the Inversion Pro and you know, a couple other gloves have that now, and they're phenomenal, like total game changers.
Yeah, and we've been. It was funny. Ross and I both 2 years ago. Well, 2 years ago. Ben sent me like the first prototype inversion with Gore-Tex in it. And after riding in it, he called me back and he's like, "What'd you think?" And I told him, "Oh man, it was awesome." And he's like, "Oh cool, can you send that back to?" I was like, "No, I lost them. I can't find them because I did not want to give those up."
Yeah. We had quite a few test riders have the same situation. It was crazy. They were losing their gloves.
Yeah,
and we were doing. I mean, and then this year they've come to market for this winter. And we were testing some pretty close to production gloves last year, and it was the same deal. And then when Chris and I go to order gloves and stuff for this year, we're like, our typical. It was so different. We're like, oh yeah, we wear these now. Like these are they're perfect for the type of riding that we do.
Absolutely.
Because we get off our sled and we pull on skis and we dig in the snow, and then we get right back on our sled and we're gone again. And wet hands are not fun.
No.
Yeah. So new gloves, new boots, new helmet. They have the new F3 carbon. That thing is ridiculous. Ross threw me his helmet, and I startled to catch. I'm like, what is this thing? It's like a piece of paper.
It's carbonic alloy.
Yeah. So man,
Avalanche
pack. That was next, and let's talk about that. I mean, you guys again. We talk about head to toe. I mean, you have that covered, and I'm going to say one thing before we go to the Abby thing. You guys who are buying, this expensive, super cool, breathable gear, please quit wearing jeans.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I see it all the time.
I know.
I'm like,
it drives us crazy.
So we're in the trailer, right? And I'm down to my skivvies. I'm putting my base layers on, and I look over, and this dude's dressed already. I'm like, how'd you get dressed? He's like, oh, I just threw my gear on. I'm like, are those? Is that denim? Are you wearing your white cotton?
As long as they're bedazzled, they're all right.
Oh my goodness! So again, it's important on the layering system, and so but let's go talk about Abby stuff. You guys have jumped into the game. We've got 2 new offerings with some really, really cool technology. It's awesome that you guys are taking this seriously.
Yeah, so I think we need to take a step back and look at where we started. So we saw the ABS bag come on the market for the ski market, but it really wasn't getting pushed into the snowmobile market, and we felt wholeheartedly that needed to be something that was available to the snowmobiler. And so there's an example of bringing a product that we didn't build from the ground up. We brought it into the snowmobile market because, again, we felt like the snowmobiler needed to have it. We needed it, yeah. And so, long story short, ABS relationship kind of went south on us. And then Peeps came into the scene with their new technology. And we thought, man, get rid of the canister, go to electric, you can recharge it. You have more than one deployment. Let's bring that. And so
weight, too.
Yep, exactly. The problem with that was it wasn't a snowmobile-specific backpack. The technology from an avalanche standpoint was great, but it just didn't have the features that we wanted.
We need,
and so we decided, hey, if we want to have a snowmobile-specific avalanche pack, we've got to build it from the ground up. And so that's where the 2 packs we have now come into play. A little different technology than the Peeps. So you charge it, you have those deployments, it's not canister. But the pack itself we really looked at what the snowmobiler needed and how they needed to have the rest of their avalanche equipment placed in the pack. And so we're super excited about that. It's going to be, those 2 packs are great.
Well, it's really awesome to see a couple things on that side. One, the technology of avalanche safety has come full circle, and it's really awesome. Number 2 is that people are recognizing that this is something that we need.
Yeah.
And so I'm very appreciative of that. Although we are still getting a lot of people who buy the product but don't know how to use it.
Your product, you got to be trained, you got to know how to use it, and you got to practice. You get in a situation, as you guys know, where things are happening, it's life-threatening. A lot of your common sense goes out the window, so practicing allows you to kind of take some of those variables out and focus on what you need to do. So
yeah, I want to touch on the Abby bag just a little bit. So I've been wearing one for quite a few years now. I was wearing Snow Pulse prior to wearing KLIM, and Snow Pulse was a canister system, and there was multiple times throughout the season where I'm rolling a sled over, or I'd get a deployment,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And you joke about it and you make fun of the guy and you take a picture. But I will tell you what, after that would happen, I sure had to ride different the rest of the day.
You felt like you needed to go home and be done for the day.
It was a terrible feeling. It was a terrible feeling, and so fast forward now, wearing the KLIM system. And we have a super capacitor.
Yep.
Anything with the word super, I'm in.
Sign me up.
Especially capacitor. But the way, and this happened down in Chile. I rolled my sled over. It pulled the handle, pops me. I'm like, dang it. And it literally roll the bag up, stuff it back in.
You're ready to go.
Ready to go. And that's just a really good peace of mind, and it's something that's really valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess when we talk about, and we're kind of getting close on time here. When we talk about, I always like talking about what's next. What are the company goals for KLIM? Well, what is the direction? I know we talk about continuing innovation and stuff. What are you seeing? Because I think you guys do a really good job of making product that the consumer wants, and that's how the heck. How do you guys do that?
We can't tell you those. Those are
well, I'm sorry. Hey, I'm just asking the questions that people want to hear.
I know.
Yeah.
We're going to be working on hovercraft technology here. Actually, you saw some of our technology during the backcountry ride.
Oh yeah, that was great technology.
Some snowmobile technology that's going to blow people's minds.
Yeah.
We kind of set you up on that one.
The early 2000 Edge chassis. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. So talking about 20 years. Down in Chile, Justin came down and rode with Kyle and myself down there.
So Justin,
so
let's let everybody know who Justin is.
Yeah, president and the founder of KLIM.
Yep.
So he came down and I sat down with him and did some interview stuff, and I asked him, I'm like, is 20 years like a big mark? And you guys are so far ahead of what is actually going on. He's like, well, I'm really like working on 3 years down the road right now. I'm like, so I should have been interviewing you like a year and a half ago. He's like, yeah, exactly. Like it was.
Yeah, like, sometimes it's hard for us to remember which season we're in because we are always working 3 or 4 years.
You guys' timelines are very aggressive, aren't they?
Yep. You have to be.
Hey, Ross, let's touch base on that just real quick here. What was it like? I mean, it was. How cool is it that after all these years, Justin is just a passionate snowmobiler just like all of us, right? I mean, how cool was it for him to come down to Chile with you, and what was that like?
Yeah, it was really cool for Kyle and myself to be able to take him out, and we had 3 generations there.
Yep.
Your dad, Justin's boys, and it was super fun. And those guys I didn't have to worry about them because I always knew if one of them was together, all 4 of them would be. They're just ripping around, doing their thing, enjoying it, and super grateful to be able to ride their snowmobiles in August just like we are. And it was pretty cool. We had our other clientele there as well, our BBA customers. And out of those other 5, 1 guy wasn't in KLIM. Everybody else was head to toe KLIM.
There you go.
And Justin was bitter at that guy.
Yeah.
Actually, that guy was feeling pretty awkward.
Awkward. Exactly.
That guy's like, whoops, I did it wrong. But it was really cool, and getting to talk with him about the history and what's going on. And one example I remember is we were talking about what gear we all wear KLIM-wise. And we got into the layering system, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. And that's how we talk now is, I 1.0 and then I might wear a 2.0 today. And our other guys who aren't like dialed in the layering system we talk are like, what are you guys talking about? Just throw a 1.0 on and then maybe a 2 tomorrow.
It's mathematical.
But it was really fun to ask all of these questions and get to spend time, and they were a great time down there, and I was super grateful to be able to show them our little place down there in Chile. So
I think what I love about Justin the most, and I haven't unfortunately had the chance to go ride with him yet. It will happen. But every time I see him, I can just tell the wheels are turning 1,000 miles an hour,
and they never stop.
And I love that. And he has that DNA of, I am never happy. It's got to be better. It has to be perfect.
The bar's always raised every year.
And that I've met him only a handful of times, and I can pick that up instantly. And that's how I know that I am in the right place, is because that's my lifestyle. That's how I run my company and my expectations with what we do.
Well, and you take it very personal too, right?
Of course.
Mean, like, this is you, and you want your clientele to be happy. And I mean, the one thing I enjoy about riding with you guys you have smiles all day long. You're as excited at the beginning of the day as you are at the end of the day, and it's contagious. And Justin and the group at KLIM are as excited to build gear as much as you guys are excited to go and take your clients out. Yeah. So
yeah.
And it was fun down there talking with him. We got into some technical talk about gear and what's going on, and KLIM is no small company, and he is very knowledgeable about the actual processes and everything going on. I'm like learning stuff from him. I'm like, whoa, this is some technical stuff we're talking about, and just bouncing ideas off of him and what he sees. And he spends time on the snow, and he knows what we need to do, and he can relate to us, since we ride so much.
And that's been one of our secrets, is we feel like we're one of the customers, and so what we're out riding, we're seeing things and we're feeling things, and we bring that back, and we're part of that process as well. And so it's been fun to to watch that continue to happen year after year after year.
Well, so I think there was a lot of awesomeness with me signing with KLIM. Of course, I was excited to be in the right gear. I was excited to be a part of a team that had the same beliefs I did. I was excited to be with some of the best athletes in the world, right? But I think the thing that was the best for me was the way I've approached my business in this industry is to associate myself with the best, because I believe you only get your name one time in an industry, and that you have to protect that. And so when I make a statement and or tell a customer that this is what he needs to buy, I truly believe that it will enhance your experience if you spend your hard-earned money. And if I didn't do that, and if I just jumped around from sponsor to sponsor to sponsor, then you lose that. And if you don't have that, then what good are you?
Absolutely. And you take it personal. You want what you recommend to work for that customer, and you want to stand behind it. And we do the same thing. When someone buys a piece of KLIM, we want to make sure they have the best experience possible. We take it very personal.
What I thought was interesting though was the point of, I didn't realize how subpar my stuff was until I wore the best. And that's not saying anything against the other companies. Everybody's working hard, right? Yeah. But there's always that next level, and there's always that next step. And so that was what was really cool for me. Yeah. So, well, awesome.
Dude, we always run out of time.
Yeah. We could talk all day long.
Yeah.
Seriously.
These and again, I say it every time. These podcasts are very, very enjoyable for me. If you guys can't tell, I really like my job. I love this industry. I love this sport. And getting to talk with guys like you, John, I really appreciate you making time for it.
Well, we love the association. We've known each other for a long time, and it's just, we've been able to align ourselves with great people, like you said, that have kind of the same vision, and we're all trying to head in the same direction, and trying to make things better than they were yesterday.
Well, here's to another 20 years.
Heck yeah.
I know I'm going to be along for the ride. And
I didn't calculate how old I was going to be in 20 years.
For all you guys who have been on the fence and were wondering if it's worth it, That's one thing. Myself personally, I put my name I put my money where my mouth is. If you don't like it, I'll give you your money back. So you're
well, and if you sit on the fence too long, you're gonna get splinters. So.
Yeah, man, you're good with the sayings. So, well, anyway, that concludes podcast number 10. I want to give KLIM a big round of applause for having us here at Heydays. It's been another blast, and I can't wait to do it again next year.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we want to thank you guys too for being part of this.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Roscoe, let's we'll regroup and podcast number 11. Who knows what we'll talk about next?
Who knows what we'll talk about? Maybe we'll finally recap Chile or something.
We need to do that.
We will recap Chile in episode 11. Coming at you soon. So thank you guys for listening. Please be sure to continue to share this and get it out. My new saying is, if you guys keep listening and watching, Chris will let me keep making them and doing it. So that's what I need from you guys. We appreciate it so much. And if you're tuning in on YouTube, I apologize for the few camera issues. It's been a long weekend.
All right. Peace out.
See you guys. Bye.